You have an album coming out in October, Memphis Rock and Soul. And I was just listening to one of the songs this morning on repeat. It is amazing, so I'm looking forward to when the full album drops. What can listeners expect?
Oh, we're doing the promotion stuff first. Awesome. Well, this is my 13th or 14th or 15th album. I don't know. I've kind of lost track. But I'm so grateful that I get to keep making music. I always said, they would ask me 25 years ago when I started this, what's your idea of success? And I said, if I can just keep making music. And this album is different because it's a cover album. And it's if any of you know your music history and you know Stax Records, it was like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett and the Staple Singers, and it's just the greatest soul music, and it's the heart of rock and roll. It's the birthplace of rock and roll as far as I'm concerned. And I went down to Memphis. I performed. I recorded with the musicians down there. I sang on Al Green's microphone. I had just an amazing, amazing time in these songs. Hold On, I'm Coming.
I've Been Loving You for Too Long. One of my all-time favorites.
And I'm gonna do a little tour about that. And it's just songs I've always wanted to sing. So I hope you enjoy it.
Speaking of your songs, shortly after Orlando, you released a really powerful song, Pulse. And I know we have some folks from Orlando in the crowd, so I just want to give them a round of applause. What was this process like from when you first heard the news to deciding that you wanted to make this beautiful song to actually releasing it?
I had a show in Michigan that Saturday night, and I got on my bus on Saturday night and arrived in Connecticut sometime the next day. You're ready, New York. And then I got in a car and they drove me to my apartment in New York City. And so as I got in the car, I opened up my social media. And I started seeing these reports about a gay nightclub in Orlando. And, shooting and gay, you see them right next to each other. And instantly the whole picture is in front of you. It's like, of course this is one of our own, because nobody hates us as much as us when we're not being ourselves, and when we're not being open, when we're not being out and living our truth. And so as the reports came in, and it just hit me so hard. It was just like, I think along with everybody else, it was like, enough. This I can no longer just kind of shake my head and look the other way. This is huge. It's in our face. It's over the top, and it's almost unbearable. It was unbearable. And so when I got to my apartment, I was alone, and I just was walking around, and I have an old Gibson guitar that I like to play, and I just started playing it because it just makes me feel better. And I started writing. I started just, it just comes to you. And I started writing as the day went on, and the night came. I have a view of the Freedom Tower, which is where the World Trade Center used to be, and as the night fell, I could see that the Freedom Tower was lit up rainbow. And that, to me, was a huge sign, along with everything else that was flooding on social media, of everyone, gay, straight, or in between, or whatever it is, all of us saying, enough, enough. No group in America, no isolated social or any kind of group can suffer this alone. This is all of us. This is a we. And so I started writing, and I realized I wanted to write something very simple, very, very simple. And of course, the name of the nightclub was so intense at being Pulse, and thinking of so many people who, no longer had a pulse, and thinking that the one thing that makes us all the same is we all do have a pulse. And so I wanted to heal. That's what music does. That's what the artists in so many of us are artists. It's what our job is to mirror and heal. And I wanted to take that moment, and I finished writing it Sunday night. I called my friend Jerry Wanda, who has a studio, and I said, "You got any time tomorrow?" He cleared the whole day. I went in with musicians. We recorded it, and by the next day, on Tuesday, my management had gotten everything together, and it was on the internet. I said, I don't want to dime on this. I want it to go to Equality Florida, and everyone, every single person, all along the route to it getting to the general public, it didn't cost a dime. It was everyone donated, didn't even ask. It was just, of course, this is what we do. So it was on the internet. It evidently did what I hoped it would, and it healed. And I've been doing it in concert all over this nation all summer long, and it has a very uniting effect, and that does mean it heals me when I see that, when I see people understanding what I mean when I say love will always win. Underneath the skin, everybody's got a pulse.
Such a beautiful. I want to take a little trip down memory lane. You mentioned it earlier. You've released more than a dozen records. When you look back on your career, is there one particular album or one particular song that still resonates with you, that kind of has a special place in your heart?
Well, so many of them do. My first album was always a very exciting one because it was the first and really got me to a certain place. But it would have to be 1993, 1994, that Yes I Am album that, people ask me, they say, geez, you're coming out through your career. And I say, well, before I came out, I sold just under 1 million records. And after I came out, I sold 6 million records. Probably the song "Come to My Window" with its refrain that I guess our community took to heart, and still I can see them. They'll stand up and sing "Fists in the Air." I don't care what they think. I don't care what they say. What do they know about this love anyway? And that's probably.
You've had such an amazing career, and people use the word icon, legend to describe you. When you look back, what was the moment where you realized, oh wow, I made it? Was there an aha moment or a gradual process, a gradual realization?
There's been so many events that I have found myself a part of, or singing with Bruce Springsteen and everything. Just come on, that was my father. I've sung for the last 3 presidents. I know, all of them. I didn't mean to, had to be there. And, I've had some wonderful experiences, and it's really hard to say, just one. It's just sort of an ongoing experience of success, and that's how I like it.
Nice. When you, so speaking of your music, who has most influenced you during your career?
I've had so many, growing up, I grew up in Kansas. There's hardly ever anyone from Kansas. So good if there's somebody in Kansas City, even though it's Missouri, I'll take that. Okay. So, I grew up, in the Midwest, and I had a great radio station. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and during the 60s, it was this AM radio station. It was WHB, Johnny Dolan's, and I could hear all kinds of music on that one radio station. It would be you could hear country music, you could hear Tammy Wynette and Conley Twitty, and then you could hear Otis Redding and Marvin Gaye, and then you could hear the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And it was just this wonderful mix of music that I grew up in. And then in the 70s was this great rock and roll station where I really got to love that. I started playing music. I played country music. I played rock and roll. And all of that was just a major influence on me, along with Barbra Streisand, the staples that we all need. And then my father was probably the biggest personal influence in that he always told me I could do whatever I really wanted to. He, as long as I worked hard and played fair, that the world was always possible to me. So when I had that, and I came out to him when I was 18, and to have that sort of support, I think it just set me up for success, because I didn't have to struggle with a family that disowned me or something, and so many of us have to go through that. And I think nowadays that parents can at least see that their children are not going to be, sad and unsuccessful because they're gay, that they can be very successful and live a very happy life. And it's those of us that are showing families that they don't have to disown their children. So I think I answered the question.
One thing, thinking about coming out, when I first came out and went through my coming out process, it was probably in the mid-90s, and you, I believe, were the only out woman that I knew of. I didn't know any personally, and you were really the only visible face for queer women. And during that time, did you feel a lot of pressure being one of the only visible folks in our community?
It wasn't pressure. It was actually, and still to this day, is an honor to have people come up to me and say, thank you. You saved my life, to you made such a difference to my family, to myself, to coming out. It's probably my greatest achievement, I feel, is that I was able to inspire and do such good just by being truthful, just by being myself. And you all do that. The best thing we can do is to be ourselves. It's just absolutely the greatest thing we can do for the world.
Last year, marriage equality became the law of the land across the U.S., but daily I'm reminded in the news that was just one battle in a broader war against folks who don't think we deserve equal rights. What do you think is the next big issue that we need to tackle?
Oh my gosh, we're still doing it. It's to fight a war, as we say, or a battle against fear it has to be the hardest to do, because it's just shadow. There's not a specific there or here. It's the fear, and it's a deep-seated. It goes so deep into cultures and societies. This fear of sex in general, this fear that somehow the God that created us meant to, only meant for it to be like this, and everyone else, there's something wrong with us, or that sort of old ingrained fear doesn't change overnight. And again, the best thing we can do to combat this, to change hearts and minds, not only just in America, but all over the world, because the world watches America. The world thinks of us as the leader in this sort of social change. And as we bring gay rights issues to the front, as we fight and demand our equality and live our lives as working, good contributing citizens, this changes the world. And so this fear that has been around for 2,000 years maybe You know, it's not going to change quickly, but the difference we see in the generations now, the younger generation, again, because I'm over 50, I can see it, it is so great that a lot of that fear and a lot of that fear is dying out. I do believe this.
One thing I was just reading this morning, and I have to say it's been amazing to be here with all these folks, all these out folks who are, you know, LGBT business owners and out corporations, and to be here with you. I was reading statistics this morning that 53% of Americans are not out at work. And more than, I think only about half of LGBT Americans are out to their father. A third aren't out to their mother. And it reminds me that there's still a lot of folks.
So you're out to your mother, but not to your father. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
It reminded me that while there are so many of us who are out and proud, there are so many of us who aren't. What's your advice to those who may be struggling, and what can folks like us, out folks, do to help those who may need a little love and guidance in that area?
If you are out, excellent, you've done the work. You've done it, because then you become an example. And you, just by living, just by being a neighbor, just by being a member of the family, just by being in your workplace, you are providing that example. I would say to those who aren't out, I would say you're missing the best and biggest part of your life. And please, for God's sake, don't run for office. If you are not out, do not enter the political arena, because you're just doing so much harm. Because, I mean, those are ones, and it's slowly, as time goes by, you will see that the ones that protest the most are the ones who need to see that coming out will help you.
Speaking of political office, there's a big election right around the corner. And you have been vocal about your support for Hillary. So why are you with her?
Starting a few months ago, I realized that 2016 is being directed by Quentin Tarantino. But it's just, of course, this election is about what it's about. And of course Donald Trump is running because we created him. You know, our entertainment industry created that. Our electoral system became a television show. Created that conflict is interesting and entertaining. Created that he stands at, I met Donald Trump at a gay wedding. That he stands there and says, oh, or however he does. You know, I can't you know, we're going to roll back the gay rights and the whole thing. He is pandering to people watching TV, who, unfortunately, that is most of what they do. And they are afraid. Again, it's fear. They are afraid of anything that's different than this very narrow life that they lead. And to combat fear, we can't combat it with hate. We can't combat it with fear. It doesn't work. You have to come in. You have to be loving. You have to say, I'm actually grateful for Donald Trump running for presidency because it brings all of this right up to the surface. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about the economy anymore, which we should be, but we're not. We're not talking about, you know, overseas. We're talking about that person that's going to take your job away, or that person that's going to ruin your children or whatever they think we still do. I don't know. And that is the issue. Finally, that it's right out front, that people are saying it is great, because when Hillary is elected in the landslide that I believe she will, it is going to feel so good to move on from that and say, okay, now let's get down to business. Let's raise the rest of our country up, even though they don't want it. Let's raise them up and bring them along with us, because that's what we do in America.
I want to go back to music for a moment, because I'm dying to know who you are listening to right now.
I love Beyonce. I love an artist that takes their much how my career was based on, taking my personal life and making it entertainment or music and making it a cathartic experience and putting it out there. I love truth in music. I want Drake and Rihanna to get married, I listen, because now we can. I have 10,000 songs on my phone, so I listen to anything and everything whenever I want. It's awesome.
Any up-and-coming LGBTQ artists we should have on our radar?
Yes, but I can't think of their names right now.
You'll have to tweet it out, and then we can...
What I love is there's artists that are LGBTQI, whatever we are now, and that's secondary to what they are, to their music. It's a part of their crayon box, it's one of the colors, and it's not the lead story, and they won't have to talk about it for 3 years like I did. That's good. No, I love seeing these artists have a place and a support, and they don't have to explain it anymore.
Last question, and we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. When you look back on your career and as an entertainer and also as an activist, what do you hope your legacy will be?
I would hope somebody would say she lived truthfully, and by doing so, helped change the world. I would like that.
Now we're going to open it up to some audience questions. Who's got a question? Oh, we got one there and one here. Bring these ladies a microphone.
Hi, we're over here. Sorry, to your right.
Oh, there you are. All right, ready? Right under the light, I couldn't see you.
So, Melissa, thank you so much for being here today. I feel very blessed that I was able to see you on Broadway in American Idiot, and you just gave an amazing performance. Any other stage in your future, any other theatrical endeavors?
Can I ask the monitor guy to turn this up a little bit, because there's enough, even though I have my hearing aid, there's a little thing. I just want to, and can you ask your question one more time, if you can turn it up there and there? Thank you.
Sure. I saw you on Broadway in American Idiot. Loved it. Your performance was amazing. Any other stage or theatrical work in your future? Do you think you want to go back to Broadway or do anything theatrically?
I think Broadway is just a really, really exciting place, and the more music becomes sort of technical, and the more live performances become more two-track performances, Broadway just becomes that much more special, because you've got to have the talent to perform on Broadway. I've always had a dream to bring a project there, to do something there. I loved doing the 2 weeks that I did. It was fabulous. My wife and I are working on it when I'm not doing my other stuff and she's not doing her television, so it kind of has been put on the back burner. But yes, I would love to do Broadway. Thank you.
Okay, and I think we have time for one more question. Who has the microphone?
Freya.
Okay.
This is not necessarily a question. This is something that happened in 1989.
Thank you.
Please stop with a comment and I have a question. Can we sneak in one more?
Yeah.
Come back.
Okay.
Oh. Somewhere. Who's got it?
Hello, I'm Dr. Beth, America's teenologist. I'm a psychologist for teens and parents of teens. I'm wondering what we can do to help the baby boys that are killing themselves and the horrible badgering that is happening on the internet with the new gay, and how they gay bash each other. I'm wondering what you can do and what we can do to make a difference for the kids. I have a program, Teen Life Over Suicide, and would love to partner with you on that in any way.
Thank you, absolutely. That's, every time I do hear someone come up and say, "You saved my life," and I understand what they mean because it was not easy for me, and it's still not easy for teenagers to into the world and know that they are gay. I believe we are doing as much as we can. Again, by coming out, by being visible, by having relationships, healthy relationships that people can see, by educating and reaching out and doing community service and doing these things and being a part of the community. That gives I remember when I was in high school, there was nothing in any magazine or newspaper anywhere that said anything about that word lesbian. That was not. It was a bad word. And the more we can bring that out, the more we live it and be it, the more these kids will have a chance to grab hold and say, okay, it might be horrible right now, but as the organization said, it gets better. And there are places to go, there are people to meet, and just giving them that hope is what we can do.
I believe we will be performing.
I get to do what